Why would the guys at Hangar 13 collaborate with a company that can't even get their name right? We all know how IGN exclusive gameplay reveal made the game look like a PS4 title, and the official Mafia channel had to jump in and save the day themselves. Which is truly pathetic cause IGN is a big company. I mean, even I try to give you well edited high quality stuff to the best of my laptop's ability. Oh, come on! Anyways, let's talk about the 4 things that stood out in Mafia the Old Country gameplay reveal, and one thing I'm not a fan of, while actually avoiding story spoilers. They showed a good chunk of stealth gameplay and it looks really promising. You can tell the devs have put some thought and effort into making the stealth encounters more layered and challenging. The area seen here is quite large and packed with a ton of bad guys. When taking down an enemy, there is an option to either knife them or choke the life out of them. And you can't just go around knifing everyone in the back, cause the knife has a health meter and each use consumes 1 bar of health, rendering the knife useless just after a few stabs. However, you can loot and use whetstones to restore knife health and go back to stabbing people. This reminds me of the shifts from Last of Us and makes stealth encounters more of a challenge. You actually have to plan your approach, especially since strangling takes some time and a lot of button mashing. To take down enemies at a distance, you can also throw your knife, and yes, you can pick it back up. There are other stealth basics in effect as well, like distracting enemies by throwing coins or bottles, or hiding bodies so they don't get discovered. There's also a Mafia Eagle vision that IGN could have mentioned if they focused on the gameplay instead of dumping story spoilers. It's truly unfortunate that IGN's exclusively covering this game, cause after playing 3 hours of the game, they posted early story spoilers instead of focusing on the actual gameplay. I don't know about the devs, but I'd be pissed. Thank God only one Monday of July is left and we can happily go back to ignoring them. Now stealth is optional. You can go in guns blazing as well unless the story forces you otherwise. And even though the stealth is not revolutionary, it's still good to have it. The second thing that looked promising was the gunplay, and it kinda reminds me of Red Dead Redemption 2 cause the shooting feels impactful and grounded. It's impressive how the environment reacts to gunfire, bullets kick up dust, and there's a satisfying amount of smoke and debris flying around. This time around the weapon wheel's gone, replaced by real-time holstered weapons, just like Red Dead Redemption 2, which is a welcome change. There are shotguns, rifles, and revolvers, the kind of weapons you would expect in a game set in the early 1900s. However, it seems you can only carry 2 guns, a sidearm and a larger weapon like a rifle or shotgun. You can also swap out your weapon if you run out of ammo, but these PUBG animations feel really dated. In fact, the animations in general just feel off, which I'll talk more about in just a bit. Anyways, there is no auto health regeneration system and you'll have to heal using bandages. Now the thing that stood out to me was the animation where Enzo wraps a bandage around his arm. And just like The Last of Us, the bandage stays on for a while. Small things like this should be acknowledged and praised, cause while all the AAA studios keep giving us shitty games, this small team is putting a lot of effort into making the gameplay immersive. The guys at IGN played the game for 3 hours and got through chapters 3, 4, and 5. Based on what they spoiled, these chapters seem to cover some pretty basic early Act 1 stuff. Chapter 3 is when Enzo leaves the Torrisi mansion for his first real mission with 2 more seasoned members of the family, Luca and Cesare, and he doesn't even have a loaded gun. So this is not just a mindless third-person shooter. The devs have put some thought into Enzo's journey, and since it took 3 hours to play 3 chapters, it's likely the game takes a slower, more deliberate approach. And despite my initial concerns about a short story, considering the $50 price tag, it seems the game could be 10 to 12 hours long, and that's great. One more thing that caught my eye was the seamless transitions between gameplay and cutscenes, and to be honest, I wasn't expecting that, so it was a pleasant surprise. This week, IGN posted some character introductions over on their website, and safe to say, we're getting some interesting characters who will actually affect the story instead of just being there for representation, and honestly, that's a breath of fresh air. I just can't wait to drive these old school cars around the incredibly beautiful Sicilian countryside. Now judging by the speedometer, there might be an option to drive in manual, only if IGN confirmed that instead of spoiling the damn story. There's also a fuel gauge, which means you can run out of fuel, and it's a nice immersive feature, making a return. Now just like Mafia 2, cars can also break down, only this time you'll have to crank start them again. However, the car handling seems quite arcadey and snappy, which I'm not a fan of. Now for the first time in the series, you can also explore the world on horseback, and it's nice to see that horses aren't just lying around, you can actually own and customize your. However, the only unique feature seems to be the speed boost shown by the spur icons. Each spur icon provides a momentary boost to speed, and there's a short cooldown before you can use it again. Now at this point, I'm just nitpicking, but the white speed lines on screen just look awful, and it would be perfectly fine without them. Now of course, there are no Red Dead level horse details here, but this is a nice addition to gameplay and exploration. Knife duels are a huge part of the gameplay, and it's a pretty detailed system. You can slash, thrust, strike, dodge and parry. You can also unlock new knives with unique upgrades for your preferred playstyle, but not really sure how that works because these dumbasses didn't show anything. Now even though all this seems impressive, it was still the weakest part of the gameplay, at least for me, mainly because of those stiff and choppy Unreal Engine animations. There's a slight pause when a hit lands, and the combat doesn't look or feel smooth. In fact, that's my only biggest complaint overall. I just don't like this outdated clunky gameplay. I mean, just look at the weapon switching animations, or the transitions between walking and crouching. This is the same problem I noticed with the Blood of Dawnwalker, another promising game being developed on Unreal Engine 5. Now the thing is, Hangar 13 had a ton of layoffs at around May 2022, and the development for Mafia the Old Country kicked off around August the same year. So it's a pretty small team that's been working on this game for just 3 years. And credits were due, for just $50, the game looks beautiful with a solid gameplay, and if the devs are smart, they'll never team up with IGN again. To be honest, IGN lost what little credibility they had left after this.
If we never get another Dragon Age, at least it got to go out on a high note.
I won't be surprised if they've already drafted their review for Mafia the Old Country, a thrilling mob story held back by minor technical flaws and a lack of diversity. Anyways, the smaller games have been straight up just embarrassing the biggest AAA titles, and that's why I'm looking forward to this game. Thanks for watching, drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the video, share your thoughts about Mafia the Old Country gameplay reveal in the comments down below. Until next time, take care.